let's break some stuff down. Um, it's early, so it's time for some dark roast coffee. Coffee flavored coffee, nothing in it. I like my coffee flavored. I know it's kind of weird. Is it? Is it doing the weird focus thing again? There we go. Reset the camera. Okay. Um, yeah, I called today's thing 99 excuses for 7 wars, or at least 7 front war. Um, do we have any control or any say over foreign policy given that we were dumb enough to elect this Congress? I don't think so. I mean, I'm really perplexed today. I really wanted to get on yesterday, but I had a couple of things to do and I really couldn't like center my thoughts yesterday because it's hard to reconcile how you start a political movement in MAGA that when it was, brand new and they just took the plastic wrap off the movement, it was about hating on neoconservatives, the neocons. It was about hating on George Bush, Dick Cheney, Karl Rove, Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell. Okay. You're running around the world, spending our entire futures, and you're not even winning anything. That's where MAGA started. Okay. Where MAGA started wasn't an unreal position, just like when the Tea Party started. They had a real position too. It only lasted 5 minutes before it got hijacked and turned into something crazy. But, when the Tea Party started, it was about real things. It was about, you know, stagnant wages, inflating home prices, uncontrollable cost of living, um, the whole feeling that the middle class was being left behind and our jobs were being exported overseas. And the only reason we go overseas is to spend money losing a war. They were right about that. So now every excuse in the universe is being laid down right now. Some of it very confused, some of it quasi factual, like Representative Pat Harrington. He's a Army veteran, a Green Beret veteran. We've been at war with Iran for 47 years. Okay. Okay. I thought the problem yesterday was the $37 trillion debt and how the neoconservatives and the Democrats under Biden and Obama and Bubba Clinton spent this country into oblivion. That was the problem literally just a couple of days ago. But now, because we do have a pain in the ass in Iran, which, you know, quasi factual, Harrington there, um, the reason we've been at war since 1979 with Iran is because we overthrew the government earlier, before 1979, and installed a dickhead. That's why we've been at war with Iran. But of course, nobody on the right side of the aisle wants to admit that Iran is a problem because of U.S. actions before the Iranian Revolution in 1979. But we're going to conveniently forget that now and tell you a little quasi reality, a little quasi fact. Have we been at war with Iran for 47 years? No, we've been at war with the planet since World War One. Remember, that's what the MAGA movement started with in their criticism with the neocons. It's not about Iraq or Afghanistan being an endless war. The country has been in endless war for a century. we're just going to pretend we're going to be at war. And the last time we were actually at war with a legal war declaration was World War II. We actually declared war against Japan. Then Germany declared war against us in late December 1941. The war lasted 10 years. The war was ended with the signing of the Treaty of San Francisco. In fact, I just saw the what is it called? The stucco of the signing of the treaty in San Francisco a little while back. Or fresco, whatever the card is. I have to ask my wife. She's the art person, not me. Uh, so since 1951, we haven't had a war declaration. We haven't had a legal constitutional war, but we've been at constant war. We called Korea a police action. As soon as we left Korea, like this is the last episode of MASH, right? Oh, we're sending U.S. troops into Vietnam. We were literally bugging out of Korea for the main action and going to the DMZ standoff thing we've been at since. And we left active combat in Korea and went immediately into, we're not combat yet in Vietnam, but that quickly turned around and then go through all the escapades, the adventurisms, the things we said we had to do, and then when it all went to shit, they couldn't remember why they really did it in the first place. And the why today is so disturbing. Oh my God. I watched between last night and this morning, I probably watched about a dozen interviews, and depending on which Republican you talk to, which member of the nationalist regime, you get a wholly different excuse on why we did this in Iran. Like if you ask Mike Grinder Johnson, why we're in Iran, bombing shit and cleaving off. What we didn't kill the Khomeini or kill the supreme leader of Iran. We cleaved off. We decapitated the entire leadership of Iran. Not to mention killed 150 people at a girls' school, including little children. I mean, and then they had the balls to go, this isn't a war. So if this isn't a war and you bombed a girls' school and killed, depending on the reports, 120, 150 school children, then you're murdering people again. Like you're murdering the fishermen you're not at war with. And this is the funny thing. Half the time when you need the excuse you're at war, you are at war with the fishermen in the Caribbean. They are a wartime threat, so you're at war with them. Until you get called on the carpet about the rules of engagement and the Geneva Conventions, then it's what you need it to be. So, they ask Mike Johnson, well, why are we in Iran? Well, if there was like 16 ifs, and yeah, then we have to take action against them. So why are we invading Iran? Oh, we're not invading Iran. Well, why are we at war with Iran? Oh, this isn't a war. Okay. Okay. Not to mention we have a Article 1 crisis right now. The Constitution clearly puts the war powers and the declaration of war in the hands of the House of Representatives. Okay? It hasn't been there since what? Since the Treaty of San Francisco. We literally haven't had a legal war or a conscious act by Congress since 1951. And again, they were in a meltdown level panic over the debt that was caused by allegedly Biden and Obama. But we know 1 out of every 3 debt dollars now on the books is dear leader porn star Humper's spending. including his big, beautiful bill where he added another $4 trillion to the debt. Now, how much he's going to add to the debt with the Iran? And remember, it's not just Iran. People have to understand this. It's the entire region's on fucking fire. The U.S. embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, got hit by a missile. Okay, Israel's now shooting at Lebanon again. Okay, the Bahrain and Dubai airports are on fire. There's towns and streets where cars are burning in Israel. Okay, this isn't a war in Iran. This is a war in the whole fucking region. How much is this regional war going to cost us? Who's going to pay for it? And it's not going to be the billionaires, according to the big beautiful bill. They do not have a tax liability anymore. They set themselves aside to the tax away from the tax system. Okay, so you got to pay a higher electricity cost. You got to pay higher gasoline cost. You have to pay higher rent. You have to pay higher homeowners insurance. You have to lose your ACA and go to a higher deductible plan that costs you more money, so they can have a tax-free lifestyle. So on top of all the stuff you can't afford now you have to pay for the Iranian war, which again isn't Iran. It's the whole goddamn region, and it will spread even further. There will be terrorist attacks in Europe. We've already had a terrorist attack in the United States. I am pretty convinced that the thing in Austin was a terrorist attack at the Buford's barbecue. I mean, you get out wearing an Iranian T-shirt. What else am I supposed to think? The markets are down almost 1,000 points right now. Okay, I'm pissed. I probably lost this morning, and the markets have only been open for. I probably lost north of $25,000 in the first hour today in the markets. Okay. Meanwhile, people in Congress are insider trading this very event. Meanwhile, people that knew about the plans in Iran were playing bets on Polymarket and the predictive markets. There's fucking gambling. They're just casinos, idiots. Okay. Everything is goddamn Caesar's Palace now. I'm, I'm old enough to remember when Republicans thought gambling was a vice. And that's one thing, one vice I do not partake in. Yeah, I like my scotch, like my THC edibles. Um, do not gamble. Yeah, I buy a lotto ticket every once in a while. I may play cards with friends if I'm in a business trip with Vegas. I played a couple of times when I had to go out for conf and the kickoff meetings and stuff like that. I used to call the Venetian my second office. I had to be out in Vegas so often. I'd literally spent like almost a month a year in Vegas. So occasionally, just because I'm out, having, went to dinner and had a couple of whiskeys at the whiskey club bar, hey, who wants to go play cards? And I'll go spend a couple $100. It's not like I go out of my way. I cannot stand the fact that the gambling apps are on young men's phones. They get enough cost of living problems. They need to waste their money on gambling. If I play, Texas Hold'em or something in Vegas and I lose $250, so what? I can afford it. Because I'm either going to spend $250 playing cards, or I'm going to spend $250 going out to dinner. Or I may do both, or I may go see a show. I'm going to spend money when I'm in Vegas anyways. So your 401k, your pension plan at the school district or the police department or the nonprofit, um, they all took giant hits today. People in Congress are making money on insider trading on this. Oh, it's garbage day. Garbage trucks here. Hear the engine in the background. Um, yeah, they're betting on Polymarket. They're making money. The contractors are making money. You know, and what really, really gets upsetting to me to think about is even if this goes well, let's say this turns into a best case scenario, um, which it doesn't look like that's even possible right now because one, there's no war plan. Trump hasn't addressed the nation and told us his goals. He tweets shitty little mean tweets at 2 in the morning on True Social. Okay. And he's randomly calling up reporters who have online fucking podcasts and just bantering on about whatever bullshit's in his head. I've attempted to look for the real policy reason why we need to do this in Iran. What we got yesterday from dear leader himself was, I got him before he got me. Represent, homie. I told you he was a street gang leader. He thinks like a street gang leader. I had put a cap in his ass. That's our foreign policy now. And the thing is, and I think this has a lot to do with it because Kane is Air Force, right? I think he's Air Force, yeah. At the beginning of Afghanistan, a cranky old, I think he was a lieutenant general, stood up in a military meeting at the Pentagon and said, "We're going to just do this with air power." And everybody looked at him like, "Do you have a fucking hole in your head? Have you started smoking crack? Did you wake up and forget, 22 years of military training?" Okay. It seems like we're back at the beginning of the Afghan war where they think, oh, yeah, we can just bomb shit from the air and suddenly magic things happen. The closet door opens up to the magical, rebuilding of the country. It's all going to be perfect. We just have to drop enough bombs. That ranks right up there with shooting enough drug dealers. Damn it. You don't get a healthy regime change unless you're there to build the institutions. Why did Germany and Japan turn out so well after World War II? Okay. Yes, we completely annihilated the country. Japan, we dropped an atomic bomb in two of their cities. That was part of it. But the actual reconstruction under the Marshall Plan had several components. One is getting their manufacturing back online because without an economy, they're just going to slip right back into fascism and authoritarianism. Our slipping economy today is part of the reason why, or at least our stratified economy, which is slipping for the middle class, is the reason why we see the rise of authoritarianism today. It's why Nigel Farage is so popular in Britain. Okay. Britain is home to 9 out of 10 of the poorest enclaves in Europe. That's what Brexit was really about. Nigel Farage and his Brexit ilk wanted to make sure they could keep Britain poor again. And they were very successful at it. And remember, Steve Bannon just copied Nigel Farage's bullshit, put in an American translator bot, and fed it out of his podcast and invented Trumpianism out of it. And then people who shouldn't be speaking are the loudest mouths about this. Mark Wayne Mullen. Bro, I work at an MMA gym. I know about war. Oh, listen to me. Mark Wayne, shut the fuck up. You are less qualified to talk about combat than I am. Okay, yes, I was in the Army, but I was never in a combat arms job. I was considering going the airborne and ranger path if I stayed in after 6 years, because without the qualifications, good luck getting promoted as an NCO in the MPs. It was hard enough making sergeant. The way the point system worked when I was in, it was really hard to make staff sergeant and sergeant first class. Really hard. There wasn't many slots, and the points were very high to get there. But All my time, I was a cop. Okay. Yes, I know exactly what the Army's like. I was there for 6.5 years. Okay. Do I know what it's like being in combat? No, I don't. Neither do you, Mark Wayne. So shut the fuck up. You are one of the champions of we are spending too much money. We've got to cancel Social Security and Medicare, pediatric cancer research, rural hospitals, close schools, defund universities. If we can't hijack them ideologically, we'll close them. We'll defund them. Remember that? We're spending too much money. Well, here comes $1 trillion war in Iran. Why not? Ukraine, he keeps screaming at reporters. Dear Leader keeps screaming at reporters. We're talking about World War III. Zelensky's wrong. Zelensky's going to kill the world. Ah! Then what the fuck is Iran about? What in the fuck is Iran about? And last night, just before midnight, East Coast time, he tweeted another shitty tweet at Zelensky about munitions. What, we saving munitions? We're increasing the stockpiles by getting into a regional war on top of the other 6 wars you started? Because where are we at now? Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Israel. We got a blockade in Cuba. We're stealing oil tankers out of Venezuela and decapitating that government too. We got a war in Mexico. And if we listen to the military influencers, we'll be at war with China in the next 30 to 36 hours. But of course, they keep moving that timeline back because we were supposed to be at war with China in 1996, according to the hawks in the military influencers. Now it's 2027 because they spent all of 2025 telling us we're going to be at war with China because China's going to start a war with Taiwan in 2026. We have to have all this military spending because China's going to invade Taiwan. China's going to invade Taiwan. Did I tell you that China's going to invade Taiwan for the 3,000th time? Well, did China invade Taiwan in 2025? No. Are they invading it in 2026? No. So now it's, oh, they're going to invade them in 2027. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Well, because you need to keep that influencer, because all military influencers who speak like this are doing is they're basically sub lobbyists for the defense contractors. Yes, we want to keep spending money on the military for the war we keep telling you we're going to have with China. And then we're going to ignore China and attack Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and never mind the 22 countries we were in the global war on terror. Like in the last 25 years, we've now attacked what, 35, 36 countries? So what outcome do they expect out of this? The outcome that's being pushed, because remember, there's a direct link between the GOP, Heritage Foundation, the American Enterprise Institute, and the right wing uh, dickhead mega pastors. Okay. Now the mega pastors, like John Hagee, is telling us that Iran is the Armageddon. Jesus has told us to go to war in Iran to prepare for the returning of Jesus Christ himself. And he ain't the only pastor saying it. And Pete Hegseth is saying it too. We went to war because the little baby Jesus wants us to go to war. Right, right. And it's a talking point in the military so bad that uh, I read at least two NCOs have filed complaints with the Freedom from Religion organization and the military sister organization for atheists. Um, you cannot shove your bullshit down my throat. That's not my part of my job as a soldier. No, Jesus and Moses are not telling us to fucking invade Iran. Okay. Two corrupt criminal regimes are telling us to attack Iran. Because why are we attacking Iran? In my opinion, it's a great distraction from the Epstein files. It's a great distraction from the tax break you just gave us. You just gave yourself and put the debt load on the middle class. It's a great distraction that the fact that Bibi Netanyahu and his wife have been indicted over a dozen times combined. Not a dozen. No, he's been indicted, what, 4 times? She's been indicted 5 times? I think that's correct. It's like 9 times they've been indicted. How many times has Trump been criminally convicted? 30 plus times? Okay. All a great distraction. Operation distract from the criminal regime. That's what they should have. They should introduce a combat patch. Operation protect the criminal regimes, the criminal nationalist regimes. Because the little baby Jesus wants us to go to war. There's nothing bigger of a fraud in my lifetime than American politicized Christianity. It makes P.T. Barnum look like a fool. All these hucksters, Charles Ponzi, all the characters, they're little hucksters. The biggest hucksters are the mega preachers. All I got to tell you is this ancient fantasy from sheep herders from not even 2,000 years ago. Most of the stories of the Bible are just plagiarized stories from the Babylonians and the Assyrians. do, you, do you really think there's no connection between Easter being near the spring solstice? But yeah, we're at war because politicized AR-15 carrying Ted Nugent style Jesus Christ, which they've made up in their heads, wants us to go to war. Little baby Jesus didn't have a problem with the pedophiles, though. Little baby Jesus didn't have a problem with second striking sailors clinging to flotsam. Hmm. Jesus does work in mysterious ways, doesn't he? Mysterious, no, not mysterious. Bullshitty ways. And what are they complaining about in the Senate this morning in interviews? Senator Jody Ernst, Iowa. What is she complaining about? She's not the only one. Why aren't we funding DHS? How dare you not fund DHS? How dare do you bankrupt the country with the big beautiful bill? How do you set up the middle class for failure with a bad tax code? How dare you invade Iran and start a regional war that's going to cost $1 trillion when you can't even fund DHS? What the fuck? They literally think the trough of pig slop, the money in the treasury is just a pig slop trough. They just get to go in there and they just take what they want. Um, One thing I really want to caution everybody about, because I've seen 10 examples of this. Um, half the memes you're seeing Do not restack them or retweet them or whatever, depending on whatever platform you're on, unless you know they're real, because most of them aren't. Like I fact checked some goofy ones I saw last night, and every single one of them was completely false. Um, they're a lot of times they're amalgams of several different stories, and they're trying to just fit it into the current news. So don't restack disinformation propaganda. That doesn't help anything. Um, like the one I saw about, what was it? Some army colonel got fired because he wouldn't do something on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I'm like, um, one, if a colonel got relieved of duty at a Joint Chiefs of Staff, you probably wouldn't have heard about it. Uh, and like the whole compendium of the story didn't make a hell of a lot of sense. Um, and going back to what are they going to do? The guy that Trump said that he wanted to negotiate with and make a deal after they whacked Khomeini, they find out a couple of hours after Trump said, "Oh, this is the guy I want to negotiate with. Well, we can make a deal." We killed him too. Now what? You're literally telling me that we had somebody that we could work with at a nation state level, and the White House never communicated that to the DoD, and then Hegseth and the Air Force kill the guy we wanted to talk to. That's like going in an Afghan and killing all the friendly warlords. What the fuck are we doing? And this is another thing that I don't think most Americans realize. Do you realize how big Iran is? Iran is a massive country. Okay. You can fit the entire state of Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Kansas, and still have space left over in the same space on the map that Iran takes up. You're going to control a country that large by bombing random shit. No, no, that's a complete fallacy. That's just mythologizing bullshit. What we would need to take over and reinstitutionalize in a Western style the Iranian government, you'd be talking about a World War II sized force. And trust me, they know this. They know this. Okay. They think they're making a deal through dropping 500-pound bombs. And they're making a lot of shitty assumptions too, like, oh, I I dropped a bomb on this street address. Therefore, the Republican Guard can't go to work. Are you fucking kidding me? Is there a cafe open? Is somebody's basement unoccupied at the moment? They'll hold a fucking meeting. Trust me. There's a reason we did not kill the Japanese emperor at the end of World War II. Yes, there was a huge reason we did not kill the Japanese emperor. Okay. And it was several layers deep why we didn't kill him. One, he wasn't the one giving the direct orders. The military was. So even though the military officers were tried and many of them were shot for war crimes and crimes against humanity, especially the idiots on Okinawa who strapped the bombs onto the Okinawa woman and pushed them at the Marines, run down that hill. Yeah, babies in satchels, bombs on their backs, push them down the hill to go get shot at by Marines, and they were walking fused bombs. Okay. So yeah, we did a lot of Japanese officer. We shot a lot of them. Um, after we arrested them. The emperor was in Japanese culture then was a living god. Okay. We would have killed the emperor, we'd have destabilized the whole country. Not to mention there'd have been mass suicides by the Japanese. Okay. And we had already inflicted a ton of damage on them. Remember, we didn't burn down Tokyo once, we burned down Tokyo twice. Then we dropped fission bombs on two cities. How fucked up is that? So yeah, you don't want to kill the emperor and send the whole country down into a depressive tizzy. You need the Japanese back at work. Like the smartest thing we did in Germany, which was the dumbest thing we did in Iraq, um, and Patton didn't give a shit. Um, they started giving Nazis jobs after VE Day. Why? Because we need the fucking phone system to work. We need the trains to run. Okay. Without basic services, you think this is going to calm down? No, it's not. Okay. We went into as far as when one of the field marshals was taken with all his troops. It was one of the biggest surrenders of World War II. And we went up to the field marshal and we gave him a choice. Would you like to be a prisoner or would you like to be a soldier? The field marshal quickly understood it wasn't a trick question. It was a real question. He was like, I want to be a soldier. He goes, good. So the U.S. officer handed him his pistol back and he goes, form up your unit. You're now working under an American commander. And they manned checkpoints with us. They guarded factories. They guarded airports, in uh, allied patrols. Um, you, 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 you have to believe in a lot of Narnia grade fantasy to believe that doing what we just did in Iran, you're going to end up with a modern Japan or a modern Germany. It's silly. It's facile. It doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't make any sense because there's nothing to believe here. And going back to, we haven't heard the goals. So there's nothing to attach whatsoever. We can hope this works out well because many of the conservatives who don't like this, but they're kind of like, okay, Iran is a pain in the ass. Maybe this will go well. It won't. It won't. Okay. Um, Markets will be down. Fuel price will be up. Instability will be up. Security posture will have to go up. We'll have to spend more money. Um, and this is something I wish somebody could explain from the MAGA point of view. Killing the supreme leader of Iran was like killing the Japanese emperor. Not so much. Yes, the Ayatollah was a religious leader, and he sort of has this pope like situation in sort of the religious hierarchy way. Sure, but he isn't seen like the Japanese emperor was seen in the 1940s, the early part of the 21st century. They literally thought he was a god on earth. Okay? They don't think that about the Ayatollah. The problem with killing the Ayatollah wasn't we just killed him. We cleaved off the whole top of a couple of dozen leaders in the Iranian regime. We just didn't take out the leader. We cleaved off the entire top of the Iranian government, including the people he wanted to talk to and make it. Okay, so who do we talk to now? And this whole thing, like, is fucking ridiculous because you're making all the assumptions you proved wrong in Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Gaza. You believe if you drop enough bombs from enough F-18s, the enemy will just throw their hands up and walk away. How'd that work out for you in Afghanistan? Did you kind of forget that part? Kind of forget that recent history? And my problem now, where it gets scary in my head, do we have a strongman leader in Dear Leader Pornstar Humper who is totally detached from reality? He just lives inside of his head. He thinks if he moves the Lego pieces in his head, something happens. Because I don't think these decisions are being done rationally. They're not done with cogent thought. This is bull in the china shop type thinking. If I break enough shit, something good happens. Okay. What happens? You get a Western democracy tomorrow morning in Iran? You spent more than 20 years in Afghanistan. You couldn't do it there. But you can do it in Iran? How? How exactly do you plan on doing that? When you keep telling us it's not a war, we're not going to put boots on the ground, even though there's thousands of troops at the airport this morning ready to go overseas. Okay. We're not a war. We're going to bomb shit. And suddenly magic is going to happen. The magic you could not make happen in Somalia, in Syria, in Iraq, Afghanistan, in Djibouti. But somehow it's magically going to happen because what? And they're trying to tell us that there was an immediate risk. And they're repeating it as of this morning, even though it's already leaked that when the intelligence agencies gave the briefing to Congress, there was no immediate threat. So what does Tom Cotton do? Far right MAGA shithead. Huh? Israel was facing an existential risk. We had to act. You mean one of the most well funded and welfare, we pay for their military welfare. We, the American taxpayer, we, the middle class taxpayer, the billionaires don't pay shit. Okay. We won't have rural hospitals. We won't have pediatric cancer research. Israel gets funding for their military. Oh, and Israel has universal health care, smoke them if you got them cannabis policies, and abortion on demand. There is an existential risk. Okay. Israel is a nuclear armed nation state. They can't protect themselves. You're lying to us about something here. At least one thing you're lying about. My guess is you're lying about three or four things. Because if there was no immediate threat, but then you post facto the threat in an interview on Fox News with Kilmeade, the dumbest motherfucker on TV, he makes Bill Maher look like Richard Feynman. Iran would have very likely targeted our troops. Were they targeting our troops? I was listening to several people yesterday. Iran hasn't done shit in the last 8 months. I've heard conservatives say that. So what's the existential risk? I tell you what the risk is. Somebody finds the 53 pages that's missing out of the DOJ Trump that has the criminal victim of a brutal rape that describes powerful white men in business suits as the suspects. That's the existential risk. The existential risk is Bibi Netanyahu not getting a pardon and ending up in court to face the crimes he's been indicted over time and time and time and time and time again. Okay, and it is a regional war. Here we go. We've got the security update from the State Department that just landed. I just saw the update here. They are now having serious security risks and avoid travel to Egypt, Bahrain, Iran, Iraq, Israel, West Bank, Jordan, Gaza, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, UAE, and Yemen. Okay. What's the goal? Don't have a fucking clue. Regime change. Okay. What the fuck does that mean after you failed to do regime change every time you fucking tried it since World War II? You've had two successful regime changes, Japan and Germany in World War II. That's it. But somehow a miracle, you're gonna take a country the size of basically the Midwest of America. You're gonna drop a few bombs, kill the person you wanted to talk to, and all of a sudden, boom, you get peace, you get rainbows, you get flowers, you get an economy, you get a Supreme Court that's actually a secular Supreme Court. Now, why the fuck would we want this government, this nationalist theocratic shit show in America, the theocratic nationalist Christian psycho fucking hour? Why do we want these assholes, these theocratic nationalists, telling other theocratic nationalists how to run their country? Because I love how they think Khomeini is their avowed enemy. He's anti-science, and you're anti-science. He hates the gays. You hate the gays. Khomeini hates women. You hate women. You literally think, except for the few engineers and lawyers that you need to run society, everybody else should be a moron that only reads a holy book, never a math book, never a history book. You just sit there and nod your fucking head reading the same passage for the 68,000th fucking time, not learning shit. Okay? Khomeini and Trump are two peas in a pod, especially considering the mullahs in Iran. I just talked about the mullahs in America, the Hagis, the Joel Osteens, the Greg Locks, all the hate preachers, all the prosperity preachers. Okay? They're the mullahs of America. Who's going to control the mullahs of America? Well, you're all worried about the mullahs of Iran. And wasn't this MAGA's all-time bitch when they started? You can't be going overseas and trying to run other countries when our country's so fucked up. Now, according to the polling, 67% of MAGA are literally not just supporting Trump in the invasion of Iran, they're jerking off about it. They couldn't be happier. Now, of course, because MAGA isn't one thing and it never really was, you've got multiple factions, including the elitist faction. You've got the Catholic Opus Dei, Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk faction, and then you've got the Catholic. No, the Catholic is Nick Fuentes. The Protestant evangelicals are the Kirks. Okay, because the Groper Catholic is the one that shot Kirk in the neck. Okay, yeah, that's it. Um, then you have the corporatist MAGAs, the Ellison family. Okay. Now I am seeing some MAGAs getting pissed, like Nick Fuentes had a existential down yesterday. He told his audience to vote Democrat in the midterms. Nick Fuentes, the Latino Nazi, who said he was more MAGA than MAGA itself, is so upset about the Iran invasion, he told his people, his audience, to vote for Democrats to end the Trump regime. Okay? And I do like the fact that the not just hashtag send Barron, talking about Barron Trump, is trending on virtually every platform. Some of the memes are hilarious because he's super tall. And the White House, I guess, allegedly said that he was too tall for the military. That's not true. Um, I knew an MP at the 503rd was so tall he had a profile. He didn't have to wear a BDU cap because he couldn't see underneath the bill, and he kept hitting his head on things. He was 6'10". Okay, which is a couple inches taller than Barron is. But I did giggle at a couple of the Barron memes, and yeah, I get why hashtag send Barron is trending. But um, th- sending Barron Trump or Uday and Kusei Trump to Iran isn't the point. The point is they aren't going, nor will they be paying a dime toward this. Debbie says MAGA cult members want white Christian Sharia law to rule America. Yes, and they're saying that aloud now. Yeah, they're being very bolsterous about it now, and that's part of the Groper movement. Um, they want Catholic dogma, hard right Opus Dei style Catholic dogma to replace statute in the Constitution. There's several flavors of the Christian Sharia law they want, but they want Sharia law. They just want they want it in effect, but just by a different name. Yes, you are 100% correct. Why do I know they're correct? Because it's coming straight out of their own mouths in the scariest of ways. And if you want to know how lost this policy is and how like there's no truth to this, this is just a shit show. Trump, like I said, isn't addressing the nation, like they do from the East Room every time they want to bomb shit, right? Doesn't get out there, doesn't explain what the fuck is going on. He randomly calls Jake Tapper in an audio call. And he says, and I want to read this quote. We don't know this is Trump talking to Tapper. Quote, we don't know who the leadership is. We don't know who they'll pick. Maybe they'll get lucky and get someone who knows what they are doing. We don't know who is leading the country right now. They don't know who's leading. It's a little like the unemployment line. Close quote. What the absolute fuck is he talking about? It wasn't an unemployment line. Nobody dies in the unemployment line, motherfucker. This was a funeral parlor. Except when you walked in, you shot the people coming to the wake. Oh, yeah, I forgot one. Nigeria. Totally forgot about that one. I mean, I have seen this meme go around a lot. Find something, tell me something you'll find in a liberal's home that you won't find in a MAGA home. A little girl tied up in a well in the bottom basement of the house. And what's infuriating about this, just 2 weeks ago, they released this backdoor mechanism to once again defund the Veterans Administration. I guarantee you they knew they were gonna start bombing Iran, while in the same time suggesting again they cut the VA. Just like we did when we went into Iraq. "Oh, we're going to Iraq, we're gonna start a 20-year war. Let's close down the war colleges and close down the VA to save money." I don't know, we could have saved money by not invading Iraq. You ever think about that? And Rubio has to be the weakest man ever to sit in the cabinet of the United States of America. This dude doesn't even qualify as a lapdog. He's so weak. Like he literally was spitting and stuttering this morning. Oh, no, 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 well, this is the if that maybe this and other thing backflip. Oh, that's why we did it. Debbie says the state of our nation is frightening and heartbreaking. Deep cuts to VA have already begun. Yes, again, that is true. Yes, we love wars. We hate taking care of the veterans. And not only did MAGA suggest cutting VA again, remember they many of them campaigned on eliminating military pensions. Because when we send that kid to Iraq, that 19-year-old, private to Iraq, he should be really concentrating on his Palantir stock. Should be really thinking about whether he should buy into Bank of America or Goldman Sachs. Really. A 19-year-old kid knows how to trade stocks? And that's what he should be concentrating on when he's getting shot at in Iran? Fuck that. And how badly Marco Rubio stumbled. He was like, well, there was an imminent threat of Israel deciding to attack Iran. What? So we attacked Iran too? Because they were going to attack Iran without us. So Bibi Netanyahu has more authority over war powers in America than the House of Representatives? Are you kidding me? Because here's what's going to happen after they get done bombing the shit out of Iran, whether it's 6 weeks, like they said, or 6 years, or 2 decades. The more money they spend bombing Iran and failing at what their unknown goals are, the more they say they will need to cut schools, healthcare, roads, infrastructure here in America. Why? Because as soon as they get done bombing Iran, they're going to need another tax break. The billionaires are going to be so upset by the war, they're going to need another tax break. Debbie says this entire administration is deeply corrupt and without any morality. True again. Yes. And I love how they have hijacked Christianity for their own political devices. And then they keep quoting Paul instead of Matthew. Or they go back to the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, and start using that. And that's another thing. I mean, a big part of MAGA, and I know there's Jewish people in MAGA, which doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know why Irish would be in MAGA. Okay? Trust me, they'll get to hating us again, too. Don't be stupid. But MAGA is built, one of the pillars of MAGA is built up upon anti-Semitism. But we have to spend our future attacking Iran because Israel needs to be protected. even though Israel has a modern military, it's well funded, it's well staffed, advanced weapons. No, we have to do it. Okay. Okay. And we run into the same like loggerhead immediately here. Same thing in Venezuela. Yeah, there's gay people in MAGA. That's why they go after trans now. Yes. They had to switch from the gay folk to specifically trans folk, the subset, because they have gay cabinet members now. Dick Cheney came out of the closet and supported gay marriage. Young Republicans don't give a shit, but they still needed an enemy. They needed the virtue signaling morality enemy, so they picked trans. And then they told you that trans was going to rape your little daughter in the bathroom while not telling you that they were in the Epstein files. So are trans the threats to the little girls, or white guys in business suits who claim they're straight, virtuous men the threat to little girls? Well, according to the Epstein files, it's the straight white men in business suits. You see how Howard Lutnick went from I did not really know him at all to us finding out they shared a townhouse wall. They were next door neighbors. They started a business together, and now I have seen multiple pictures of Lutnick on Epstein Island with Epstein. But you barely knew him. Oh, I've been telling you, we need more fucking independence. Why? A list of Democrats are going to fucking sign on to the Iran war. Okay. Signed on to the war without Trump telling us what the fucking goals are, including Mark Kelly. So, was a big fan of the Kelly brothers. Fuck you both. I didn't even give a shit about you two anymore. Okay. You can't even get the justification out in public before you fuck us. Because, like I said, they're going to go to war and demand a tax break for themselves. Of course, we got a whole line of Democrats literally willing and able to vote yes and give Trump any power he wants. Fetterman, all in on the Iranian war. He wants, I'm waiting for the guy to totally snap because I know he's got mental problems. He has a stroke and he already has mental problems. Pennsylvania, don't reelect this fucking whack job. Do not fucking elect him because he's going to come out one day and he goes, yeah, we should start nuking Iran to protect Israel. Because that's another thing the far right is talking about. Well, why don't we just nuke them? Oh, yeah, that solves all fucking problems. And now they're doing the sycophancy thing in Capitol Hill this morning, going back to Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican from Oklahoma, the senator. You should be thanking the president, thanking the president. Thank you for being a strong leader. Oh, thank you for being a strong leader. Yet nobody challenges this fuckwad, Mark Wayne, to describe the policy and its goals and give us an estimate on the costs. Judy just said all incumbents must go. Yes, that is true. I'm at that point now. If you're voting for an incumbent, you're making a huge fucking mistake. Because you think this asshole, Mark Wayne Mullen, deserves a job again in the Senate? No, he does not. The same way Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer don't deserve their jobs. If Iran was a true threat, they should have gone to the Armed Services Committee in the House. The House should have passed, the committee should have put forward a resolution. It should have gone to the floor. They should have voted on this. But no, instead, Mullen's on his knees licking the shit out of fucking Trump's diaper, telling us we should thank dear leader for being a glorious fucking strongman. Debbie says no goals, no action plan, no justifiable reason. After all, we allowed Trump to tear up the nuclear treaty by 5 countries and Obama and America. Yeah, that's true. The EU was uh, behind the last agreement we had with Iran that Obama got. Saudi Arabia was behind it. The UAE was behind it. Okay. The big nuclear powers, France, India, Pakistan, were for it. Okay. So yeah, they threw that aside because that Obama deal didn't include the Trump Tower to Iran and a tax break for Trump and his friends. So to throw that out, start bombing at the highest cost possible, introduce the most risk possible. Okay. I'm gonna probably make myself more angry, and I'm seeing reports that the market's continuing to slide. Oof. Oof. Ooh. Ow. Ow. That hurts. You don't want to look at your portfolio today. And I'm sick and tired of the responses. You don't give me any justifiable cause, any reasonable explanation on why this is happening. You refuse to follow the constitutional processes. But I'm the one that has trunk derangement syndrome. I got that again on YouTube yesterday. I bounce all these and they get automatically cut up into shorts and they all go over to my YouTube account too. And I'm like, I wasn't the dickhead wearing a maxi pad on the ear. I support Trump because I taped the maxi pad to my ear. We need more independence in the House and the Senate. There's just no way around that right now. Because if this goes to the floor this week, they're going to give Trump unfettered permission to do anything he fucking wants. Because they have one shot to vote it down. Because the only other way around it is taking the Defense Department budget away, which they'll never do. Okay. And that's one of the things that I'm getting pretty adamant on. To save the middle class, to save our children, to not abandon our grandchildren, we need to start seriously considering cutting both military budgets and police and security budgets, maybe as much as 50%. Because we can't generate enough taxation from our paychecks to pay for this military adventurism and an ever increasing budget, whether we're at war or not. Because remember, they wanted $600 billion more budget for 2026 for the Defense Department, and they didn't even mention Iran. Then it comes out in 2 different newspapers I read is they don't know what the fuck they would spend the money on. The extras. We're not talking 600 billion total. We're talking the $960 billion total plus another 600 billion. But they don't know what they'd spend the money on. I do. Adventurism. To say we're in a bad spot is a total understatement here. If you knew you were going into Iran Why did you ask for the VA to be cut? If you knew you were going into Iran, why wasn't ICE and DHS looking for Iranian terrorists, Republican guards, real security threats? What did you do instead? You beat up the tamale grandma in Chula Vista. You chased Jorge and Juan through the artichoke field in Watsonville. You're such war heroes. You detained an Irish tourist with proper paperwork and a visa for 6 weeks and refused to give him proper food, water, or medication. You're arresting people, literally walking into the chambers of the immigration court to do their last step with the judge so they can go to the swearing in ceremony to become a citizen. You arrested them. But now you've got a nationwide alert, and the FBI and the DHS is at all-time high security alert. Wait a minute. You mean the Iran war is a threat to the United States? Oh, wow. Really? Who can imagine that happening? Obviously, everybody that has half a brain, which does not include MAGA. The anti-war MAGA movement with their anti-war president. We need more independence. We need independents that are going to go in and we're going to fix the War Powers Act to dramatically decrease the budget. If they want to go to war, you're going to need to pass a wealth tax and a corporate tax, not a tax on us. We're the ones that volunteer for the service. We have to pay for it too. I don't see many billionaire kids serving in the Marines and the Army. A couple of millionaires kids though. I actually, in my unit in West Germany, was one of the grandsons of Morton from Morton Salt Company. He joined the army for something to do for 3 years because he didn't get the start of his inheritance until he was 25. We didn't believe him at first, and then he showed us family photos, and we're like, holy shit, you're actually part of the Morton family. But yeah, you don't see many billionaires. We need to throw out the current narrative because the current narrative doesn't make any fucking sense. Oh, Iran is the war we have to do, and we have to abandon Ukraine. What the fuck? Ukraine is not worth fighting, but Iran is. And I fear what is because Trump is so manipulable. He's really a gullible idiot. All Bibi had to do was fawn over him. And, okay, I'll do anything you want. It was bad enough we have to give Israeli welfare while they run a state we wish we had. We wish we had cheap education, universal health care. Wish the government wouldn't give a shit about what we decided we wanted to put in our bodies, whether it be a cup of coffee or fucking cannabis. But no, we can't have nice things. Why? Because we've got to protect the liberal democracies of somewhere else while we turn into a fascist shit show, a bankrupt fascist shit show. And I think we'd be completely safe cutting the military budget. And I know everybody that hears me say that allegedly is pro-military. You're not pro-military. Because when you vote for these fucking assholes who immediately want to cut VA and immediately want to cut the family support budget on bases, you're not pro-soldier. So fuck off. Okay. I think we can safely massively cut the military budget, and the only persons it will affect are defense contractors and their executives. They'll get smaller bonuses. What about Cuba? Or are they going to pull through this? Yeah, the Cuba blockade. Well, one, I think we have 50 years of some of the dumbest, overstated policy in the fucking planet about Cuba. The last time Cuba was a problem was the missile crisis under Jack Kennedy. It hasn't been an actual problem for the United States ever since. And the biggest reason they didn't like Castro's taking over Cuba because they kicked out the mob who ran all the casinos in Cuba. The mob paying off the politicians back home. Not that I'm a fan of Fidel Castro. He's a fucking commie. So is his brother. But will Cuba pull through this? Yeah, they're very resourceful people. We've effectively, maybe not as hardcore as we're doing right now in the blockade, but we effectively sanctioned, blocked them, and blockaded them for decades now. Okay, and they're fine. Well, they are the mob now. Yeah, they don't want the mob back. They want to be the mob. Politicians just like used to like the blank envelope with the cash in it. Now they want to be the ones holding and controlling the envelope. And this is all quaint, well, was it Haldeman safe with the $2 million slush fund in Watergate? That's pennies now. That's pennies. The slush funds they want, the size of the envelopes they want now are incredible. Incredible. And they say, oh, it will reduce our ability to execute a war. That's exactly why we're cutting your budget. Because you can't find a war that means anything to America. It means things in this nebulous political rub my back between different criminal leaders of different criminal countries. Fuck it. Okay. And like I said, I'm not saying you can't go to war. You need to go to the House and get a war declaration. Once you get that war declaration, the House can raise taxes to pay for the war. Just like we did in World War II. We didn't tell people in World War II, here's a tax break, go shopping, like W did in Iraq. No, we started to pay for it as soon as we started fighting. Now it did take forever to pay for it, but at least we weren't stupid and pretended the bills weren't coming in. So if you want a war in the future after we cut your budget, go to the House of Representatives, get a war declaration, and have them provide the funding through a wealth tax and a corporate tax. Leave us the fuck out of it. And as far as the police go, reduced budgets mean you actually have to focus on crime. Your adventurism has to stop too. If you have to make a choice between enforcing marijuana and enforcing real crime, you're going to have to pick real crime. If you want to spend all your money covering the insurance liabilities from driving around the tank and pretending, Cleveland or fucking San Jose is Ramadi, Iraq, okay, you can ride around in your tank, or you can do police work. You're only going to have money to do one. And I think it's time. Before you kill the dollar, before we go into a currency crisis, because countries don't go bankrupt. I know I jokingly put that as the title of a live session last time or the time before. Countries don't go bankrupt. They go into currency crisis. And then they bleed out the working class, the middle class, to try to patch the hole they created. Okay. The hole they're going to create out of this shit on top of what we already have going on Like I said the other day, even the conservatives know we're fucked when it comes to the debt. I mean, conservatives like Mitt Romney are writing op-eds going, raise taxes on me. You have to before the dollar dies. And I would rather be spending the money not on GHS and ICE. I'd rather be spending it on local police for real police duties, not riding around the fucking tank, not doing cosplay plate carrier like Christy Nome. No, no, no. I'd rather build public transit. I'd rather make sure we have good schools. I'd rather make sure that our highways work. I told you I drove cross country a couple of times the last couple of years going to Indiana and back. Man, I was happy as a clam to see all the roads being dug up in Nebraska. Highway 80 being dug up for 40 miles and being totally replaced from the dirt up. They even took the load bearing part of the road out and reconstructed the whole thing with the infrastructure dollars. Great. Great. We need infrastructure. I've said that before. Nebraska was busy, man. Windmill parts going this way, girders going the other way. Okay. Yeah, you need good infrastructure. Let's spend it on the things we need, not the political theater Bibi Netanyahu needs so he doesn't go to prison. Not the political theater dear leader Pornstar Hupper needs because he's trying to stay out of prison. They're both trying to stay in power forever because that's their mechanism to stay out of jail. And if we live inside the left-right orthodoxy between Democrats and Republicans and their loggerhead bullshit, we ain't going to go anywhere but down. We need a hard blockade to stop the stupid in Congress because we can get mad at Trump all we want. There's a body that can totally control Trump. They're just choosing not to do it. So that's why when Judy said all incumbents must go, yes, that's exactly why. Because you as a body is not working. I would literally celebrate if we got a 75% turnover in Congress in the midterms. If we could literally get all incumbents to go out, oh, I wouldn't stop clapping for an hour. My hands would be sore. I'd be clapping so hard. Because you haven't done us any favors. You really haven't. Our energy policy sucks. Why? Congress is asleep at the wheel. Our infrastructure policy sucks. Why? Congress is asleep at the wheel. And when they wake up, the only thing they do is talk to lobbyists to get money so they can run for re-election and check their iPhones for their trading app so they can see how much money they made from their insider trading. That's why you need more independence. Independents willing to get on committees, willing to get on the ethics committee and hold some of these assholes responsible. Okay, I'm going to let you go for now. Try to have a good day. Remember to breathe. I know this is frustrating. This is just driving me up a tree. None of this makes a lot of sense because everything they bring up now is dichotomous. What you said yesterday doesn't match what you said today. The reason you gave me last week is not the reason you're giving me this morning. You told me the situation was A. Now you're telling me the situation is B. Not cool. But hang in there. Be independent. Vote independent. Run for local office as an independent. Find good sources of information. Tell your families and your friends and your neighbors and your cohorts to find good sources of information. Don't listen to the fringes. They're not offering us anything right now. Including the calls from the far left is, oh, we should implement socialism because of Iran. Oh, yeah, that's going to solve the problem. Sure. Turning into East Germany. That will do it. Give me a break. Okay. We've got to focus on the midterms. We got to get to the midterms, and then we need to vote like we've never voted before. It's like I said, yeah, the last time. Either we get a stronger, more functioning Congress in after the midterms, or we're not going to be able to turn around this ship, and we're in trouble. Our kids are in trouble. Okay. Until next time, please think about it.